have never been to the art museum would be rallying to save the art museum. And you can say the art museum doesn't really bring that much money to St. Louis and whatnot, so why are we drawn to it? Why do we want to have it? Whatever that touches on upon us is the same thing about a professional sports franchise. Now they're two different things, but whatever drives us to want something in our city to impress other people around the world or around this nation, it's the exact same thing. Be it the Rams, be it the art museum, be it Ballpark Village, be ever what it may. I think how we look at ourselves is so much more important than how the rest of the world looks at us.
It is a unique business, though. I mean, we take a lot of ownership, I feel like, in our team. Those who are sports fans, I should say. So a lot of people could care less, I suppose. But.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the economic side, beyond the tangible side, it is a very emotional attachment that people have with fans. And if anything has struck me, it has been that over the last several years. The depth of the connection of a fan to its team. How many people will come up to me and say, I have been there since 1967. If you win the cup, I can die in peace. I mean, it is extremely important to people. And it is something that brings people together in a city. It's, what would we be talking about? If it's not the Cardinals in the World Series, where the Blues, where it's a contender this year, it's not that we don't talk about it, but it's part of the fabric, it's part of the conversation that's ongoing.
And
at
do
all
you
times.
See that continuing in younger generations? Because I know you're probably dialed into where the business is headed.
Very much so, very much so. This image of this idea that young kids today, they're just all about tech and other things. They still like sports. And they're still connected to their teams.
It's also part of community. It's part of the diversity. You're talking about the art museum, whether I care about art or not. It's about, communities are diverse, and there are different aspects of the communities that like music, that like art, that like sports. It's also each of those things, arts, community, events, sporting events, they bring people together that may not otherwise come together. And I think that's one reason it's really important to have the fabric of the community being interwoven with all different things that meet the needs of a diverse group of people.
We, by the way, we're online now. We have a few more minutes left on the live stream. We touched on Ballpark Village a lot, but we didn't go over it. Anybody have any strong predictions for Ballpark Village? Anybody at the table in terms of
we were talking
expectations?
about putting out a bid for the Final Four. If I'm part of the bid team, I'm mentioning Ballpark Village because that's just another amenity that can make downtown St. Louis attractive for visitors.
It got a lot of spot, though. I mean, there were articles in the paper, not just on Next STL, about all of this subsidizing for a parking lot is what we're seeing right now.
Too much. We were talking. I said, first of all, you start off $7 million in the hole because the Cardinals should have been held responsible for that $1 million a year, whatever the penalty was for when it wasn't developed, and they were allowed to slide on that. And I just think that, look, I love the Cardinals, do great things for the city. They got enough money; they should have paid that. They should have been allowed to slide on that. I like that Anheuser-Busch is involved in it, and they're going to have the theme restaurant in there. I think it's off to a good start, but like Power and Light District and things in Kansas City, you're going to have to add to what's there. If people are going to go down there year round, it's got to be bigger, it's got to be better. So there's some work to do, but I'm excited that it's opening, and I think that's a good thing.
I think the fact that they're a museum, I think that will be the thing that will really initially draw people in, is that when they open that museum, their Hall of Fame.
Right, and vote for Willie McGee for the Hall of Fame. I'll just throw that in there.
They have a marketing plan that includes a lot more than sports. They are marketing to different groups, people from people that sell candles to knitting, and I mean they have a plan to have that space activated year round. So it was never the idea that when the Cardinals are in town this will be big and otherwise we hope people come. I mean, it's proactively being planned and designed.
Can we support that and Wash Ave, for instance?
Absolutely, and I think that what probably the biggest key there is transit, is making sure that it's really easy for people to get from Ballpark Village, from the stadium to Union Station to Washington Avenue to the MX district, and that's not hard. There's buses, there are trolleys, and you can walk. And a lot of cities, people, we are a big city, we are a real city, but in a lot of peer cities, people walk, and they're not as concerned about doing that as we tend to be here in St. Louis.
You started
The,
saying?
Ballpark Village is right next to the City Arch River project as well. I mean,
Exactly. It's gonna be
it's just
connected.
perfectly located to really create some critical mass downtown for something that,
We need
that attracts
residents.
people.
So I
Yeah.
really hope it's going to be wildly successful, and the Cardinals will change their mind soon and start building residential. Because
In Ballpark Village, which was part of the original plan.
I can't see how that would not be successful. You know, build, because not everybody wants to live in a loft. A lot of people want to live in a new space, and that space is so perfectly located. So I really hope they will build residential and offices, and we can gain some more residents. Because what we need most downtown is more residents, more jobs and more residents. That's the key.
Two comments on transit. Now, I'm a transplant. I moved here in '99. But going back to this walkability, I think that it's interesting how people in St. Louis, especially people that are coming from West County, still have this fear factor of downtown St. Louis at times. So walking from Wash Ave to Busch Stadium for some people is still unfortunately an issue. I agree with you. You're shaking your head. I don't have a problem with it, but there are still some people that do. And then the other transit issue is you know very well before your games that you have trolleys coming from all these different restaurants. I used the one from Over Under on 11th and Wash Ave. Back in 2005, and I told Frank Viverito and other people at the Sports Commission, I wish there was a way that the city could figure out, I'm not talking about something fancy like light rail, have a trolley system that takes people from Wash Ave to Busch Stadium to Soulard, because when you have these big events like the Final Four, that just makes it easier. And I think during the 2005 Final Four, there was something like that. That doesn't seem very hard or very expensive, and yet that hasn't happened. So that's a frustration of mine.